Almost everyone has heard the saying, in my next life, I'll be an ox or a horse to repay your kindness. These seemingly ordinary words reveal the profound significance of cattle and horses in human life, especially throughout the long era of agrarian civilization. An ox was a family's lifeline. Over time, they became cultural symbols etched into our very souls. While horses are the heroic souls of the battlefield, oxen are the embodiment of hard work and loyalty. An ox spends its whole life guarding a single home. There is nothing earth-shattering, only quiet, constant companionship. The lifespan of an ox is typically only 20 to 30 years, while beef cattle are often sent to the table in just a year or two. Yet in a small village in South Korea, there lives an old ox that has survived for 40 years, the equivalent of a human centenarian. It is truly a rare sight. Even so, it remains diligent and tireless day after day. The cowbell around its neck is a sound that the 70s and 80s generations know well. Its crisp chime echoes through the mountains and fields as a white-haired old man sits on the cart behind. The man is Cho Yui-kyung, the lifelong companion and owner of this old ox. Today, I'm sharing a low-budget documentary from 2008 that moved countless viewers to tears. What brings the tears isn't forced sentimentality, but the fact that every frame is a raw reflection of life. For those born in the 70s and 80s, some call it the Korean version of To Live, and some find it even more heart-wrenching. Dr. Janarian and his old ox have walked together through the years without grand speeches, showing only the quiet tenderness of a lifelong bond. This is the world's simplest, yet most poignant bond of life. 80-year-old Grandpa Choi has lost nearly all his teeth as one ages. He often dozed off without realizing it, yet he wasn't worried at all, for the old ox he raised knew the way home by heart. Uncle Kwee's home, a simple farmhouse nestled at the foot of the mountain. His wife, Grandma Lee, had lost nearly all her teeth. Married to Uncle Kwee since she was 16, the couple had never left these mountains. They had spent their entire lives right here. They worked at sunrise and rested at sunset, trekking between their home and the fields day after day. One day, as usual, Uncle Kwee drove his ox cart down to the fields. The pines were lush and green, and the mountain flowers bloomed in vibrant colors. From not far away, the crisp call of a cuckoo echoed. At noon, Grandma Lee would come to the fields to bring lunch to her husband and a bowl of white rice for the old oxy. The elderly couple, punched with age, walked over to the ox, poured it a bowl of makgeolli, its favorite drink, which Grandma brewed herself. Grandma wanted to pour more, but her husband stopped her.
It's on the way home. She also told him to eat a bun and take a bottle of water. Along with this, even his pig's feet ailing leg. You've got to pull the rag out. It's been so long since it's been a while. You must stay safe. None of this can be broadcast live.
The old ox took a fall yesterday. Since then it hasn't eaten and has had constant diarrhea. Uncle Kwee called for a veterinarian. After just one look, the vet concluded that it was simply too old. Its life was finally nearing its end. The old man asked, "How much longer does it have?" The vet held up a finger. 1 year at most. Grief instantly clouded the old man's face. If the ox were to pass, what would become of the old couple next year? After much thought, the old man headed to the local cattle market. He wanted to buy an ox for plowing, but the cattle dealer just shook his head. With farm mechanization everywhere now, no one uses oxen to plow the fields anymore. In the end, the dealer brought over a pregnant cow to take over the old ox's work. The old couple had high hopes for her, but they had to wait for the calf to be born first. As for the old ox that had been with them for 40 years, the old man planned to keep him until his final days. Every day before dawn, the old man would cook the fodder, the old ox, and hang up his favorite radio. The ox couldn't speak, but to the old man, he was closer than anyone. He was nothing but skin and bones, his tail deeply sunken, and the old man was just like his ox, his calves as thin as withered wood. A medical accident in his youth had caused his tendons to atrophy, leaving him with a permanent leg deformity. Unable to walk normally when working in the fields, he could only crawl as he labored. It was thanks to this old ox that the family survived those hardest of years. All 9 of the old man's children were raised on the back of this ox. Now, the children have moved to the city, busy with their own lives and rarely visiting. As the sun sets and the day's work ends, the old ox slowly pulls the old man back home, step by step. Before long, the new cow gave birth to a calf. At the time, only bull calves were valuable, but she had a heifer. The mother cow was temperamental, and the calf was especially wild, while the rest of the village used machinery. Only the old man remained with his old ox, slowly ploughing the earth. It felt like agrarian and industrial civilizations were quietly colliding on this land. After ploughing, the old man would pick some dandelions. He feeds the old ox dandelions as they are medicinal and good for its health, while other villagers use pesticides to weed. The old man has farmed traditionally his whole life. He never uses chemicals. Seeing his neighbors spraying pesticides, he quickly muzzles the ox, fearing it might accidentally graze on contaminated grass. His insistence on manual weeding means his wife has to suffer through the hard labor as well. For decades, the old woman hasn't been able to stop her endless nagging and complaining.
What are you doing? I've been doing this for all these years. This is just way too much for me. The cars are passing by, one after another. Oh my goodness. I can't see a thing. At least you're getting some exercise. Look at those young men, just sitting there by the road. Look at these bonds you worked so hard. They've turned black with dirt.
Yet, no matter how busy or exhausted he is, the old man cuts fresh grass for the ox. Every single day, he refuses to use commercial livestock feed, believing only fresh grass provides proper nourishment. This is likely the reason why the old ox has managed to live for so long. As the old man sits nearby, quietly watching the ox graze, his wife begins to grumble once again.
Yeah, you never even take a break on normal days. I'll probably end up working like this forever, too. Don't come over here. Go to the other side. He's been out here eating and playing all afternoon, but you aren't even watching him. The old ox is a venerable elder in the village. Many of the residents are younger than he is.
Some joke that the family should be truly grateful to this ox, as he is more dependable than the old man's own sons. Others say the ox was lucky to find such a kind master. Man and ox, they are truly a match made in heaven. Hearing this, a childlike smile spreads across the old man's face as he chats happily with the villagers.
To ha 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 ha. I know how to use this. Why are you looking at your phone here?
Before long, the sky opened up with a torrential downpour. The rice the old man had painstakingly planted was completely washed away by the flood. He could only stand blankly by the ridge, overwhelmed by a sense of helplessness. After the rain, frogs croaked everywhere as mist swirled and drifted up the mountainside. The old man fed rice bran to the 2 cows. The younger cow, being strong and energetic, kept stealing the old ox's food, which the old man couldn't bear to see. He immediately used his cane to drive the cow away and led the old ox out to the fields. The old ox bowed its head, quietly grazing on grass under the blue sky and white clouds. It was a serene and timeless pastoral scene. Midsummer arrived in the blink of an eye, with cicadas buzzing incessantly in the trees. The old man accidentally fell and injured his head, groaning in pain on the ground. Grandma applied a warm compress for him, but the pain did not subside at all. Seeing this, the intuitive old ox let out a low moo, as if calling out to its master. Hearing the ox, the old man struggled to open his eyes and look toward it. A faint glimmer of light finally appeared in his clouded eyes. Realizing they couldn't go on like this, Grandma had to take him to the city for medical help. Accompanied by the sound of frogs, the old ox pulled the cart, slowly carrying the elderly couple toward the city. The ox cart moved slowly through the city as cars roared past. Amidst the exhaust fumes, the 2 worlds seemed incompatible, yet profoundly real. At the hospital, A battery of examinations took up the entire morning. The doctor solemnly warned the old man that he must work less from now on, rest more, or you'll risk a stroke and paralysis which could lead to life-threatening complications. The old man let out a long sigh, his eyes filled with sorrow and uncertainty. Leaving the hospital, the couple stopped by a photo studio on their way home. It had been many years since they last had a proper photograph taken. The old man was hard of hearing, so Grandma had to shout to remind him. He smiled, taking advantage of the rare occasion. They even had their funeral portraits taken. Back home, Grandma urged him to rest and stop heading out to the fields. But people of that generation can never stay idle as long as they can move. They feel they must work the land even in the rain. The old man would still lead his old ox to the fields for a look. To him, these lush green crops are his lifeblood. If a day passes without seeing them, he feels a void in his heart. The calf grew larger, and its temperament became increasingly unruly. One day, it suddenly lunged and knocked the old man down. Fortunately, he wasn't seriously hurt, but Grandma was terrified. Out of options, he called a cattle dealer, intending to sell the mischievous calf. To drive the price down, the dealer nitpicked everything in front of the shed, which infuriated the old man so much that he flatly refused to sell it anymore. The dealer had wasted a trip and even lost money on fuel. He had to resort to sweet talk and pleaded for a long time. It wasn't until nightfall that he finally convinced the old man to let him take the calf away. As the rice neared harvest, the old man was weeding the fields alone, while Grandma picked peppers by the tea garden. Oh, seeing the neighbors finish their farm work with such ease, Grandma felt anxious and resentful, unable to stop herself from nagging. She blamed her husband's stubborn refusal to use pesticides, which had allowed pests to destroy most of the crops. His face was etched with sorrow. I'll
take care of it the way he does it. I'll just take it. What did they put there? Pikachu?
Despite the constant bickering, the old couple has weathered life's storms together for a lifetime. The one who has stayed by their side the longest isn't any of their 9 children, but that aging old ox. Grandma constantly nags about selling the ox, which only irritates the old man. Once, when the old ox accidentally knocked over the rice bran, the old man angrily raised his cane and struck it a few times. But while the blows landed on the ox, the pain was felt in his own heart. As summer turned to autumn, the peanut harvest season arrived. Leaning on his cane, the old man struggled to shoulder a massive bundle of peanuts. It took several attempts before he could barely stand upright. The old ox, panting heavily, dragged the peanuts along, trudging toward home with trembling steps. Every step seemed to require every ounce of its strength. A few days later, for Grandma's birthday, the children and grandchildren all returned to celebrate. Under a high full moon, the family gathered around for a barbecue. The children chatted and laughed, filling the air with joy. Yet, the old couple sat with heads bowed, feeling little of the festive cheer. When the conversation turned to the old ox, the children spoke with deep emotion. It was the one who tilled the land and earned the family's keep, put us all through school. It was the ox's hard labor that made our lives today possible. Now that it's old, it looks so frail and pitiful. Grandma, however, was full of resentment. I'm more pitiful than that ox. With these old bones, I still have to cut grass every day to feed it. She hoped the children would persuade her husband to sell the ox. The children also saw their father's health declining. As long as the ox remained, he would never stop working, so they all joined in to persuade him. The old man kept his head down, remaining silent throughout. Soon golden autumn returned with ripe golden persimmons hanging heavy on the branches. The family's rice paddies yielded a bumper harvest. The old man insisted on harvesting by hand with a sickle, saying, "Only in this way can we ensure no grain is wasted." Homegrown rice is never treated with chemical fertilizers or pesticides. After the harvest, the old couple always sends most of the rice to their children living far away, just as they have for decades. Every year, the children taste the fragrant rice grown by their parents' own hands. Before long, the old man's leg injury worsened, leaving his joints deformed and misaligned. The doctor gave an ultimatum. He must never do farm work again. He could no longer even lift a single bucket of straw. As if sensing his fate, tears slowly welled up in the old ox's eyes. These two old partners, bound together for half a lifetime, finally could not withstand the cruelty of time. At the repeated urging of his wife and children, the old man finally led the ox to the cattle market. To him, this hard-working, loyal, and sentient ox had long been a priceless treasure. But when he named a price of 50-01, the cattle traders nearly burst out laughing. In their eyes, the ox was nothing but skin and bones, utterly worthless. Even its meat would be too tough and stringy to eat. This is the cold, hard reality. When people grow old, they are seen as useless. It is the same for cattle. The old ox seemed to understand every word, and once again, it shed sorrowful tears as the sun set. The old man rode his ox cart home alone. In truth, he knew better than anyone that the ox wasn't worth that price. Asking 50-01 was simply his way of refusing to let it go. The days drifted by in silence. The radio the old man kept on his ox cart all year round suddenly went silent. His wife said with a smile,
"That's your partner following you like a shadow that day." I didn't. Whether man or beast, when old age comes, the day eventually arrives to leave this world.
Now, the old ox pulls the cart, foaming at the mouth. Every step it takes seems to drain its very last bit of strength. It has toiled all its life, never daring to slacken. Even at this stage it dares not stop, for if it stops, it fears it will never find the strength to go on again. The old man struggles up the hillside to chop wood. He carries a load on his back, while the ox pulls the rest. In that moment, the man resembled the ox, and the ox resembled the man. Like a silkworm that spins until its death, like a candle whose tears only dry when it turns to ash. Old ox has finally reached the end of its strength. It can no longer stand. No matter how the old man calls to it, it can no longer lift its head. The veterinarian arrives only to shake his head and sigh. It was once predicted that it only had 1 year left to live, yet it stubbornly endured for 3 more years. Finally, the old ox lies quietly on the ground, its clouded eyes slowly losing their luster. The old man gently removes the nose ring and cowbell it had worn its whole life. The old couple keeps a quiet vigil as he peacefully closes his eyes. This old partner of 40 years has dedicated its entire life to this family. Its mission is finally complete. It can finally rest. The old man's body trembles as his grief can no longer be contained. His wife stands by in silence. Though she has a sharp tongue, she has a heart of gold. Grandma says that in all of Korea, you'll never find another ox like this one, who even when sick, even in its failing health, it kept working, hauling loads of firewood home, ensuring the elderly couple had enough fuel for the winter. The old man poured a bottle of Maggioli at the grave, the drink his old partner loved most in life. As winter fades into spring, life awakens. The cycle of seasons continues, ever renewing. The crisp chime of the cowbell still seems to echo in the wind, a resonance that is both the gentlest and most moving in the world. Watching old partner, my heart remained heavy for a long while, yet enveloped by a profound sense of warmth. No dramatic plot twists, no grand cinematography, just an elderly couple, an old ox who stood by them for 40 years, and a lifetime etched into the rural earth. Yet it captures the most simple and moving companionship imaginable. This old ox was long more than just livestock. He was a member of the family. He plowed the fields and hauled wood alongside the old man, supporting the family's livelihood with his frail, bony frame. When the old man was hurt, the ox lowed in distress. When faced with the prospect of being sold, he wept in silence. Even in his twilight years, he labored with every ounce of his strength until his final breath. He never asked for anything in return, knowing only how to give a lifetime spent embodying the purest loyalty. Man and the ox were the most inseparable partners in each other's lives. As the man aged, the labor grew heavy. As the ox aged, his steps grew slow. Both were being pushed toward the end by time, yet they continued to lean on one another. The old man knew the ox was worthless by market standards, yet he demanded a high price, not out of stubbornness, but out of a deep, aching reluctance to let go. When his cane struck the ox, it was the old man's heart that felt the pain, a bond transcending species. Grandma's tongue was sharp, but her heart ached for this diligent old ox more than anyone else's. Beneath her harsh words lay a profound gratitude for their old partner. What strikes the heart most is the cruelty of time and the preciousness of companionship. People age, cattle pass away, and landscapes change, yet their 40-year bond remains forever etched into the mountains and fields. That crisp cowbell is more than just a sound. It is the mark of the ox's lifetime of toil. It is the old man's unwavering devotion and the warmest echo in the passage of ordinary days. We learn that the most moving emotions are never found in grand vows, but in the quiet companionship of each day and the steadfast care of a lifetime. Having fulfilled its mission, the old ox passed away peacefully, yet that lingering cowbell will always echo in our hearts, reminding us that companionship is the ultimate expression of love, that loyalty and kindness will forever remain the most precious light in this world.